Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. Hello, I'm back. We had a downed Facebook on Monday, so I'm sorry I missed you for Marvelous Monday. That was kind of interesting after doing all of these live Facebooks for almost a year to all of a sudden have no Facebook to go live to. So I missed you all, but I'm back today with Watercolor Wednesday, and I've got a lot to share with you today. My excuse my studio. I know it looks like a a mess, big mess back there. I've been so busy getting out the design journal workshop kits. That's coming right up. So you can see I've got a big box. Where is it? This side. There. Where's my hand? There we go. There's a big box filled with packages getting ready to go out. So those are things that need mailing labels, and I'm still putting the goodie bags together. I've got the kits all together. So I'm actually going to give you a sneak peek and let you see what the contents of one of those kits looks like today. Also, I've got a special announcement which I posted on the main page here. You'll see that there is a free watercolor class with a $50 order notice, and I'm going to be elaborating on that later today. And if you're interested, if you want to learn more about it, just please go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to notes. And I'm going to be sending out a special invitation to all my painting friends. And this applies for both painting with ink people and watercolor people. Because what we're going to do today is I'm going to do a quick comparison and show you what the differences are between painting with ink and painting with watercolors. And for that, I'm going to be using these roses. I couldn't believe it. When I went out there today, I had these roses blooming in the garden. And you know, if you've tuned in before, these are the crocus roses that I love so much. And I thought they were done. I thought we're finished with the roses for this year. And here they were. And there's even a couple more buds out there. So I'm so excited to have these to paint from today. They are my favorite, and I think everybody loves roses, and roses can be a little bit tricky to paint. So I thought I'd give you some tips today on how to get started painting roses. So I think those are the announcements for the minute. Whatever I've forgotten, I'll mention as I go along. Let me show you what the kits look like for the Design Journal workshop. So they are pretty packed. Now these are just the cards that I'm making to give to the folks that are, you see I was up late last night getting these organized. And basically it's a card, but it also has this cute little dangle on it, which you can use in your journal. And on the inside, you have your special bookbinding needle, so you don't lose it. So that's attached in there on this little flap so that you can use it over and over again. So that is the special welcome to the workshop. And then let me take some of these things out. You've got your different pieces for the journal. You've got your pages. You've got your mats for the cover. There's a note card in there. You also have your thread, your ribbon. You get some little goodies from me. A lot of you have been very interested in the peacock feathers, so you're going to get a special little packet of peacock feathers that come from my peacock. So I'm excited to share that with you, and I'm especially excited to see what you do with them. So, so I hope that you'll post all of your creative designs with peacock feathers on our private Facebook group, because there is a design journal Facebook group that you will automatically become a member of. In order for me to invite you, you have to go to my Facebook page at Dandelion Cottage Design and follow and like it, and then I'll be able to send you an invitation to the private group. You're going to get a little packet with little embellishments and things you're going to need, and I have a special stamp set, Beauty of Tomorrow, that I'm going to be giving away in a raffle during our live Zoom when we do our show and tell, and we have a flip through of my design journal. So I hope you're all getting excited to get your things. They will be in the mail to you shortly, so just be a little more patient. And hopefully, you know, the mail is going to be experiencing a slowdown. So I don't know what that's going to mean to our priority packages, but hopefully they won't be too much delayed. I will get them out as soon as possible. Now for today, I have the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and I have my water painters. And let me get my little palette out with my colors. Okay, so these are my inks. Okay, and then I also have my palette with my watercolors. And both of these are just yellow, red, and blue. Yellow, red, and blue. Okay, so we're just using the three primary colors. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration of the difference between painting with ink and painting with watercolor. And I think you're going to see that there are some kind of subtle differences, but really they're pretty close. And the technique is just the same. So let me just check my internet here, make sure that I'm broadcasting. Oops. Oh yes, okay, there we are. Hey Ginger. Hi Lisa. Hi Carol. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be a fun day of painting. Not too long, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my trimmer and I'm going to cut my paper in half. And this paper measures 5 by 7. It's 140-pound paper. It's 100% cotton rag. And you will be able to find, excuse my reach here, you'll be able to find these products below. I'm going to list, after the video, I will be listing everything that I used today. So if you want to get those, you can. And don't forget that if you spend $50 or more using that special host code that I have posted, you will be eligible to join us for the free class. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so now I've got 2 3.5 by 5 pieces of my watercolor paper. And I think for today, I'm going to do a quick sketch. So I'm just going to do one of these roses. So let me get my desk organized here so that you can see better. All right, we'll do one at a time. And actually, I think I'll do, so that it fits better in the screen, I'm going to go ahead and do a horizontal image. I think that would be better for everybody to see. And if you have any questions today, I'm going to be paying attention to your questions. So just go ahead and type them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer your questions. All right. I've got to get my sip of coffee because you know this machine runs on coffee. All right. Now, I'm just going to keep this simple. So, as I look at my beautiful rose bouquet here, it looks something like this. Got a little bud up here and a cluster of leaves. And don't worry if you can't see this right now. I know it's very light, but that's how I get started with my pencil drawing, is just by doing a very light color, or line, I should say. I'll put some more leaves down here. All right, so that's it. Very simple. And I think I'm going to start with the watercolor. So let's put this aside for a sec. And I've got my watercolors out. And remember, it's just the yellow, red, and blue. And I'm going to go ahead and get my spritzer, and I'm just going to give my watercolors a misting. Okay. This time I am not going to wet the paper first because I'm just going to do this very fast. And I am diluting my yellow with a tiny drop of red in there because these roses have just the slightest bit of peachy tone. All right, and this is not going to be one of those very careful nature studies because we don't have time for that today, but I will show you how you can very quickly get a very pretty little painting that you can use on a note card or give as a gift. And now I am mixing my my blue and my yellow together to get a green, and this is just a pale green. And I'll put a couple of strokes like so. There we go. And while it's still damp, I'm just going to put a little more color in there, here and there. Just let that kind of flow. And now I'll go back into my roses. And this time I'm mixing up that yellow mixture again with a little bit of red, but making it a little bit darker. In the class, in the free class, which will be an introduction to watercolor, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different fundamentals of art, including the movement of light, value, shading, and all those kind of bigger concepts that I can't do in a short Facebook Live. But this is the knowledge that you need to have in the back of your mind as you develop these pictures. And once you have that knowledge, then you know the sky's the limit. You just keep building on that and practicing and keep going, and you're able to do a very nice painting. All right, now I want to add a little bit of violet. So I'm making a mixture of the red and the blue. And I'm just going to kind of put that in the background to create a little bit of a vignette. There we go. Just something to give it a little more atmosphere, a little more spatial quality. I can go around and do just the same over here. And then just to add a few little details, and the leaves. All right, and I think I see a little bit of a beautiful pink touch in this bud peeking out. All right, so there you can see that with just a few strokes, you can get a very pretty little picture. And I'll just put a little more dark over here into these shadow areas. Okay, so there's my quick little rose impression using watercolor. Now let's use the same thing using inks. Okay, so I'm just going to move my palette out of the way. Let me check it. Any questions over here? Hi, Carol. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. Just going to put this aside and get out my water painter. And I thought I was going to be doing that pencil sketch, but my plans have changed. All right, so here's my mini palette, and I've got my yellow, red, and blue. Got a little piece of dust in there I'll take out. And I'm going to be using, I have my case here, I'm just going to use that to mix up my colors on. Now I've got a little bit of ink left over from the last time, so all I'm going to do, most of the time I use that ink, but when I'm painting something that's very pale, as these roses are, I need to have an area clear for just the, let me show you what I'm doing here. So I just need to have a little area clear for my lightest tones so that they don't get contaminated with the other colors. So that's all I'm doing. All right. So I'm grabbing some of that yellow, and just the same as I did with the watercolors, I'm flooding that with plenty of water. And the ink does act a little bit differently. Inks are essentially dyes. so rather than sitting on top of the paper, they are absorbed by the actual fibers of the paper. Therefore, they move very differently than the watercolor does. But having said that, it is possible to make adjustments just by controlling the amount of water that you're using. So I need to wipe this away a little bit again because I see I've got a different color on here. This is the cinnamon cider. I don't want that for this picture. I just want the red, yellow, and blue so we can get an actual comparison. There we go. That's better. It's still very similar, but that's okay. That'll work. All right, and again, I'm going to take the blue, this time with the yellow, and start to indicate my leaves. Basic rose leaf cluster of 3. And my bud. And the leaves down here. All right, now I'm going to get my violet mixture. So I'm mixing my blue with a tiny bit of red, a lot of water. Moving a little faster with the ink than I would with the watercolor. Okay, so there's our background. And now I'll go back into my flowers and add a little more detail. Indicate some of these petals. And go, and then my leaves, don't want to neglect my leaves. So mixing up more of the yellow and blue to get a darker tone. By the way, in my regular watercolor workshop, I go into a lot more detail with the color mixing, and you can see what I'm doing on my palette as far as mixing the colors together. So there's a lot more information, and I spend a lot more time talking about those things. Get my pink in my bud. And a couple more darker accents here and there. And a little bit of the serrated edges on the leaves. Just a little indication of that. And again, into my flowers. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow in here. All right, I think that's enough to give you an idea of the for the comparison. So let's see them side by side. So you can see the colors are a little bit different because one is pigment, one is dyes. So there's a slight difference, but that will change, of course, depending on whatever primary colors you choose to use. But remember that I only use 3 colors with each of them, red, yellow, and blue. That's all you need. And let's see. So this one's dry enough that I could get a lot more detail on here if I wanted to go back in there and do that. And this one's very wet. Okay, so this is the watercolor. This is the ink. What do you all think? Let me see what you have to say about the watercolor or the ink painting. Ginger would like to see me mixing colors. Of course, yes, I know it can be frustrating in these short Facebook lives. I can't do everything that I could do in a full workshop, but in the workshop I do go through all of that extensively. So hopefully you'll join us for that. I don't see any other questions. So so if that's all you've got to comment, then I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to remind you to please go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage. And I am going to be sending out a special invitation to join me for a free watercolor class. This is something that doesn't happen very often. And the way that you can get this free class is by using the host code that I have listed on the post that I put in earlier today, and I'll be putting that down below this video so that you can go to my online store and select $50 or more of materials, and you will qualify for this free class. So I hope you'll join me. And if you've signed up for the Design Journal workshop, the packages will be going out by the end of this week, and you'll also be getting your email that has all the information about how to get prepared for the workshop. So thank you all very much for joining me today. stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I'll see you again on Saturday for a frightfully cute Halloween surprise.